Okay, and share. And okay. One moment. We're almost there. Okay. And now we can go to the Gemara. Okay, and chat. I'm going to put up the page in the Gemara with 59a, a little bit down the page. Should open up in a moment. There we are. Okay, so we're up to thunder. Al Haramim.
Al Haramim.
Yes.
So we're my Ramim.
Yeah, what is thunder? Amar Shmuel Ananai Begalgala. When the clouds in the firmament and the curvature of the heavens bang into the heavens, they create thunder. Shenema Kol Ramcha Begalgal, the voice of your thunder is in the heavenly sphere. Heiru Barokim Tevel, the earth is illuminated by the flashes of lightning. Rogza, when the Rogza of Atirasharetz, the earth trembles. Rabbanon Amri and the rabbis say, Anay Deshavchamayel Adodi. Thunder is the sound of clouds pouring water one into the other. Shenemar, the kol titamon mayim b'shemayim, to the voice of his giving much, of his giving a abundance of water in the heavens. Rav Yaakov Amar, Barka Takifa Debarik Banana. Thunder is caused by a powerful lightning bolt that flashes in the cloud and smashes the hailstone. So it all relates to storms. Rashi Amar None Kalchule Mechalkale. The clouds are hollow. The wind blows across their mouth. It's like wind blowing in the mouth of a jug. We say that Rav Acha bar Yaakov seems to be correct because first you have lightning, then you hear the moaning of the clouds, and then it rains, right? Lightning, thunder, and then the rain starts coming down.
So they knew that.
Al haruchos, and on wind. My ruchos, what wind? And every little breeze, you're going to say a bracha. You say shekocha gvrasim alolam, whose strength and power fill the world. Omar Abaya za'afa, a storm wind. In other words, an unusual wind, a wind
angry one.
Yeah, so like a hurricane or a typhoon or a tornado. Omar Abaya gemiri the zafa b'layla lehave. We have a tradition. There are no gale force winds at night. V'kalazin dehave. This is where it begins by day. And this is probably relevant to the particular climate of Mesopotamia where Abaya lived. That a gale force wind does not last 2 hours. Obviously, hurricanes last longer, but the gale force winds in Babylon do not last more than 2 hours. To fulfill what it says in Nahum, Lo Tokum Pamayim Tzara, more than twice a trouble should not arise. There's an interruption in the winds. And lightning, you say, though the practice is to also say Osabasa Brachot. My barakim, what is lightning? Amarava Barka, a bright light. Amarava Barka Yechida, a single blow of lightning. Barka Chivara, white lightning. Barka Yerukta, green lightning. Clouds that rise. So Rava said a single blow of lightning, green lightning, clouds that rise in the western corner and come from the southern corner. and two clouds that rise replacing each other, they're all signs of trouble. They all show a storm in that part of the world. Ask the Gemara L'mainaf Kamine, why does it make a difference to know that these cloud formations are a sign of trouble when the storm is going to come anyways? Answer Lemi Boy Rachme, to seek Hashem's mercy that the storm not be too destructive. This is only at night. Avol B'tzafra, in the morning, Leis B'meshasha, you don't have to worry about it. But at sea, it's different. At sea, red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky at morning, sailors take warning.
Really?
So the Atlantic Ocean, it's different. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Yitzchak, Hane Anone that Tzafra Leis B'meshasha. Morning clouds have no substance, as it's written. Your goodness is as a morning cloud and the dew that passes away. But don't people say, if there's rain when people open their doors in the morning, donkey driver, fold your sacks and go to sleep because it's going to rain all day. Where the sky is covered with thick clouds and there's no substance, then there's rain. But if it's thin clouds, the wispy clouds on top, you're not going to have much rain. And again, this is all observations of the meteorology of the particular region in which the sages lived.
Right.
But as I mentioned many times, our Chachamim, now there are deeper mystical meanings to these things, but on the surface, our Chachamim observe the world around them and report it.
Here's another Alexander Rabbi.
Right. Omer Rabbi Alexandri in the name of Yeshua ben Levi. Thunder was only created to impose fear and straighten the caucus of the heart, as it says in Kohelet Velakim Asa, God made it Shirim Lafan of people should fear him. What that means is when we see the great power of nature, thunder, lightning, earthquakes, tsunamis, and we see how puny we are with all our technology in the face of a hurricane or an earthquake and so on, we understand that God is great and we are nothing, and we stand in awe of God's greatness. That's the meaning. And furthermore, Rabbi Alexandri, in the name of Yeshua ben Levi, also said, Aroas Akeshes Ba'anon, someone who sees a rainbow and a cloud should fall on his face, as it says, as the appearance of a cloud in the day of the rain, so is the appearance of Hashem, and I fell on my face in the vision of Yechezkel. But they criticized him in Israel because it looks like you're bowing to the rainbow, which certain idolaters did. You should say a bracha. We do not fall on our face. We say the bracha. My mavarech. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. He who remembers the covenant, because when we see a rainbow, remember that really God should destroy the world because we're so wicked, but Hashem has rachmanas on us. But Masnisa, he promised not to destroy the world. In the Bryce, we learned, Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan Broka, said that you say Naaman Bariso, he who is Amar Rabbi Papa, since there's two opinions, we say both. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam zochar brit, who remembers the covenant, and is reliable in his covenant and keeps his word. And that is indeed the bracha that we say. And since rainbows come and go, you should learn that bracha by heart. So you say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech zochar brit hanemam briso. Can you say the whole thing? You say both opinions.
Well, who's going to remember that?
It's not hard. You're a smart guy.
Right now, it's a waste of time.
Now, we learned Alaharim Vagvos on mountains and hills. If they're the biggest mountains and hills in your area, you say both Osamatsa Gracious. Article Hamid Hashtar, not acts of creation, lightning, thunder. It says Brachot Lamatasa, did not God make lightning to be a harbinger of rain? Rabbi Kroch V'Sani.
What is Hashtani?
Until now, all the other things, combine them and teach Rav Amar. Therefore, you say two brachas. But by lightning, by mountains, so for thunder and lightning, you could say either bracha and either. You don't say both, bro. You can say whose power or osamasabracious who creates. But for mountains and hills, which are not moving, they're not making noise, you don't say who power fills the world, you just say author of creation. One who sees the firmament in its purity says, blessed is he who creates the work of creation. When? Says Abayat, when rain falls all night, in the morning a northern wind blows and it reveals the heaven in the pure blue. However, we don't do it this way because the Rav from Bar Papa Rav Chisda, because he argues with Rav from Bar Papa, who said in the name of Rav Chisda, Dama Rav from Bar Papa, the name of Rav Chisda, Miyom Shechar Beit HaMikdash, from the day the temple was destroyed, Lo Neris Rikir B'Torah, so we never saw the sky in its true purity. Shenemar Alba Shemayim Kadros, I will clothe the heavens with blackness, and I make sackcloth a covering. And until the coming of Mashiach, the sky will never be seen in its true purity. Okay, now we are on 59b, and I have to make an introduction. There are two calculations used in the Talmud for the phase of the sun. One is the Tkufa of Shmuel, which is the standard 365 and 1/4 days. However, we know that the year is actually slightly shorter than that. We have the Tekufas Ravada that we use that is more accurate. However, we calculate the 28-year cycle of the sun, where the sun returns to its original position at the beginning of Mazel Tov, the sign of the zodiac, Aries, to 0 degrees in the sky, where the sun rises exactly opposite 0 degrees. If you count 0 degrees from Aries, from the spring equinox, so every 28 years, according to the 365 and 1/4 calculation, it returns to exactly its original position it was at creation. Now, we still use this calculation. Why? Because according to the Midrash, originally the year was 365 and 1/4. After the flood, it got messed up a bit and we lost a few seconds. And therefore, since we're talking about creation, and at creation, the day was, the sun's cycle was 365 and 1/4. So every 28 years, the hypothetical perfect sun returns to the hypothetical perfect 0 degrees, even though really it's far off. So every 28 years, we say the blessing on the sun. We said the blessing in 1981. We said the blessing in 2009. And we'll say the blessing again in the year 2037. Hopefully we'll all be here. Okay.
Is that a coincidence with 360 degrees of a circle?
Yeah, of course. There are 360 degrees of solar, of celestial, longitude.
Effects doesn't change.
No, but the question is, when we reach 0 degrees, when does the sun rise on the 1st of Nisan, exactly again 0 degrees, and that's every 28 years. But it actually doesn't, because the year since the flood is no longer 365 and 1/4. But that's how we calculate the bracha. And in 1981, when we did the blessing on the sun, the Rebbe said, the Lubavitcher Rebbe spoke extensively about how the blessing of the sun is its enormous energy, and that we should be putting all our efforts into creating a robust solar energy infrastructure. And of course, no one listened, and now we're playing catch up with the Chinese. But the Rebbe was very, very pro solar energy, and thought that in 1981, instead of relying on the Arabs and Russians for oil, we should be creating a robust solar energy system.
But now
they're
talking seriously about being able to send solar energy
from space. Yes.
Down to Earth.
Yeah, they've been talking about that ever since the 1960s.
And also hydrogen.
Yeah, well, you can use solar energy to split water to make hydrogen because you have unlimited solar energy. And the Rebbe warned that you're going to end up relying on countries that are very undemocratic and against American values, whereas America has plenty of sun in the southwestern part of the United States. So, the wise see far ahead. Now we're finally waking up to what the Rebbe said more than 40 years ago. Okay, Tana Rabbanim, as we learned in the Brisa. Haroa Kamabetz Kufasa, someone who sees the sun in its
We on the top of the
59b at the top. You sees the sun at the beginning of its cycle, the 28-year hypothetical cycle. The Levana Begvurata, no Tana Rabbanan. 59b, Tana Rabbanan at the very top.
Where B.
59b1. You got to keep turning the page, Ursula.
No, I thought I did.
There you are. There you are. You have it. Tana Rabbanan. Someone who sees the sun at the beginning of its hypothetical perfect 20-year cycle. Levana Begvurata, the moon in its full strength. In other words, the full moon, except that we no longer say the bracha for the full moon, the Kochavim and Mesilosam, and the planets in their orbit, So, Mazalo is considered in the signs of the zodiac aligned in order. It says Baruch Atah Hashem, Osama celebration. When is the sun and the moon and the stars and the all align? And when does this happen? Omar Abaya Kolesrin Tamnation. Every 28 years, or the Magzav and Ofot Kufas Nissen. Every 28 years, the cycle is complete and returns to a Genesis, and Kufas Nisam, and the spring days and nights fall within the constellation of Saturn on the third and fourth day of the week. So that's the way that the skies were arranged. Except we're a little bit off now because the day has changed since the flood.
If we did to the sun what we're doing to the moon, it would be idol worship.
But we don't do. That's why we don't face the moon. We say Berachas Levana. We face east. You're specifically not supposed to face the moon, so no one thinks you're worshiping the moon. Every time we do Kiddush Levana here, if you stay, you will notice that I tell everyone to face east. I say it because you don't stay usually.
I don't.
Well, why not? It's in the code. It's in Shulchan Aruch. Supposed to do it every month. Anyways, but the fact is, but every time we do Kiddush Levana, every time we thank God for creating the moon, and every time we do Kiddush Levana, I remind everyone when we stand out there to face east.
Why are we creating the moon? You can create any of the stars.
Because the moon is the means by which we calculate our calendar. Our whole calendar is God gave us the moon to calculate the Jewish calendar. And therefore we say a bracha on the moon. And also the moon is symbolic of the Jewish people. Then just when it looks like they're going to disappear, they reappear in greater strength.
Once a year, we should do it to the Shemesh.
Once in 28 years, because the sun the moon cycle is 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 10/80ths of an hour. But the sun cycle is 28 years, or according to the Ravada's calculation, 19 years. For Omar Rami Barabai Omar Rav Yitz. Okay, 1 second. I'm sorry, we missed that. So Rabbi Yehuda Omar Roy Omar Yodel, if you see the Great Sea, which is either Mediterranean, the Atlantic, the Pacific. In other words, when you see the sea that encompasses the world, in other words, one of the oceans, because they're all connected. You say the bracha, blessed is he who made. Yes, blessed is he who made the Great Sea. Ad kama Omar Rabbi Rabbi Rav Yitzchak ad shloshim yom until 30 days. Every 30 days.
What?
In other words, if you live near the Atlantic, like when I travel, from every week, I go pretty much from here to through New Haven to New York. So I see the Atlantic Ocean at New Haven.
Yeah.
So because I do it every week, I don't say the bracha. But when I've not been to the sea for a long time, and I go to see my daughter in San Francisco, and I say Pacific Ocean, I say the bracha. I say the bracha, Ose, Osa Asiyam Gadol, you created the great sea, or Osa Masa Gracious. Someone who sees the river Euphrates near the bridge of the old city of Babylon says, "Blessed are you, you create the works of creation, because the Euphrates is one of the primeval rivers that flows from Gan Eden." But now that the Persians have rerouted the course of the river, I'll tell you in a moment. Mibei Shaba or Leil, so the book of Daniel, from Beit Shavar upriver, downriver, it's no longer where God created it. Yes, well, it's the Medrashim. The night Belshazzar, which we're going to learn about this Monday, the night Belshazzar was killed, and the night that Babylon was conquered, the river Euphrates flowed right through the fortified city of Babel, always giving it water. So the Persians dug a canal immediately upriver, north of behind the hill. They dug a huge canal for many years, or many months, however long it took them. And then at the night that Babel was conquered, they threw stones into the river and broke the last bit of the canal, and the Euphrates flowed into the canal and around the river, leaving Babel high and dry. And through the gate, which wasn't guarded, of the open riverbed, they walked in and conquered Babel without having to take down its fortifications. And that is when the Persians rerouted it.
They could figure.
They were smart.
Even then. Well, we're going to say, let me see.
Now, so according to some commentaries, they just made lots of canals for irrigation. But the Medrash on Daniel tells us the story of rerouting the Euphrates north above it.
Why did they give him a name of sounds almost like the king's name, except it's
No, they called him Belshazzar. He was protected by Bel, their god.
No, the difference is a tet in there.
Right. Well, no, we put the difference in, so it shouldn't sound like the name of Avodah Zarah, but it really was the name of Avodah Zarah.
It's the sound sounds the same as the king's name.
It was. Both mean Belshazzar. He was protected by the god Bel.
Oh.
Because they gave him Persian names. Okay.
So who added it?
So the answer is, so if you see the Mississippi River, well, it's not one of the four rivers, but if you see the Euphrates north of Babel, you say the blessing, he who creates the work of creation. But if you see it south of Babel, you don't, because it's no longer in its natural course. The reason now, some people say that if you see the Amazon or the Mississippi, the great rivers of each continent, you do say the Brachos of Masa Gracious. If you see, but only where you see it in its natural course, and the Mississippi has been much changed. Only in Minnesota can one see it in its natural course. The Amazon, so if I ever go to Brazil and see the Amazon, I'll ask a question as to whether I should say the bracha Osa Masa Gracious. High in the Andes Mountains.
That's very unusual and big.
Well, it looks like the ocean. The first Portuguese explorers who came there thought they were still in the ocean, because at the mouth of the Amazon you cannot see from one shore to the other.
Yeah, so wide.
They only knew from the mud.
It's still a dangerous, you have to know where you're going and who
Of
you're going
course.
to see.
Okay, we shall conclude here. I wish you all a good Shabbos, and we'll continue with the wonders of creation. So if you see the big mountains, you see the Rocky Mountains, you see the Himalayas or the Alps, you say, the Reb Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, that he once he used to go to the Alps every summer, and he said, because I don't want to, after 120 years, when I come to heaven, I don't want Hashem to say to me, have you not seen my Alps? But here you can go to the Rocky Mountains or the Sierra Nevada.
Oh, so I got news for you. Instead of the Alps here, you go to the Canadian Rockies.
Any Rockies are they're good too.
Oh
Or-
my God,
but
you can take the Alps and put them in a
but yeah,
corner.
the Sierra Nevada is even taller, but not as extensive. And if you
I-
go to Mount Whitney, which is the tallest one on the continent, Denali, it's known as, you certainly can say the bracha. Okay, everyone.
That's for Chevrolet.
Rabbi, good Shabbos.
Denali.
Have a good Shabbos, everyone.
So.
No,
I
it's
thought it
not
was the Canadian
Shabbos,
Rockies.
everyone. No,